nigga Dom. True players, let's go. This that true player shit. We gon' make it live with Big Dom. How they gon' knock true player shit? We gon' take it farther than beyond. This that true player shit. We gon' make it.
What's good, everybody? It's your man Big Dom coming live and at you. Another True Players podcast live at 1:01 a.m. in the morning. Along with my two guest hosts. You guys know who they are. Joey G, Ricky Brown, coming at you tonight. Early morning. Talking about the incident in which the young kid was arrested for smoking weed in the park. If you guys listen to the previous podcast, we did speak about rules of engagement when it comes to law enforcement. And what we saw in that video, which I'm going to queue up in the next few seconds, courtesy of ABC, you guys can make a determination on yourself about the rules of engagement and who violated the rules of engagement amongst a civilian and law enforcement. Let me cue the video up for you guys. This is brought to you by ABC.
Did New York cops in Brooklyn go too far last night, trying to bust two young men smoking marijuana in a playground?
Well, the video going viral of police swarming one of the young men. Both ran away when they saw cops coming.
The man tackled cops claim he was resisting arrest. Critical reaction tonight from the mayor, the police commissioner, and the Brooklyn Borough president.
Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger live outside the 6-9 precinct in Canarsie. Josh?
A critical reaction, Sade and Bill, but tempered by the mayor and the police commissioner, pointing out the circumstances that led to this. We're outside the 6-9 precinct where a rally just wrapped up. In fact, some cars pulling away with family members of the man who was in that video. I want to tell you exactly what led to this as we mix down to the video that has made the rounds on social media today. This started, police say, with a shot spotter activation. There were shots fired in this area near Glenwood Road on a playground in the Canarsie section. A couple of plainclothes cops from the anti-crime unit were the first to arrive and saw, according to police, two men run away. They caught up to both of them. This is one of those men. And in the video, police say it shows that the man is resisting arrest, is refusing to cooperate. Forgive me, the man identified as 20-year-old Fitzroy Gale, who argued with that officer. He called for backup. In the end, they took him down with force. One officer stepped on his ankle in the process. Turned out he was not armed, had nothing to do with the original shots fired call. In the past hour, the man, his family, and his attorney held a rally here outside the 6-9, calling on the Brooklyn District Attorney to launch an investigation here.
My son said, "Mom, look at the video." And I was like, in my head and in my stomach, it's like, I just cannot stand up to know that. I mean, my son, he is not.
All right, seems to be a little bit technical difficulties with sharing the actual content, guys. I do apologize for that, but for make a long story short, there was a report of a shooting around the park, which engaged the detectives to come to the park to take a look to see what's going on. And they observed two kids smoking weed, assuming that they were the shooters at the park. And I love how the news anchor said they stepped on his ankle. If you look at the video, anyone who's seen the video, there was no accidental step. The police officer, the uniformed police officer, stomped on his ankle, right, in excessive force fashion. I'm gonna let Joey G and Ricky Brown give their thoughts on this also.
Well, everything about this situation is appalling. First of all, let's talk about the spin that the newscasters put on the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
We found boys smoking marijuana in the park, and they ran. If you watch that Twitter video, there's no evidence that kid was running.
No,
he doesn't look sweaty. He doesn't look out of breath. He's obviously scared, and he keeps asking, "What crime have I committed? What crime have I committed?"
Right.
and he says you're supposed to answer that question. As this relates to our rules of engagement discussion, follow the proper rules of engagement situation. There's no other way to put it. Situation. He followed the. He was. I mean, he was moving, but I mean, he's scared. It's not like he's an officer, and the officer never identified himself as a police officer, at least not in the video. Now, I don't know what happened prior to the camera coming on. Because apparently, this young lady was walking home from work, and she saw the situation unfolding, and she pulled out her phone and started recording. According to BuzzFeed, they interviewed the young man. He said he did not run out the park. He knows better than to run because that gives cops a license to shoot you. He says when he said he calmly walked across the street when this dude just jogged up over to him and started. What's even more appalling, other than the interaction between him and the plainclothes officer, was that when the uniform showed up, it was like 7 of them that just swarmed the dude and started kneeing him, and he was not resisting. There was no need for all that. And then my question is the same question that he asked in the beginning of the video. What crime did he commit?
Exactly.
Smoking a little bit of pot in the park. Maybe we can have a moral discussion about you smoking weed in public places. But last I remember, possession and consumption of marijuana is decriminalized in the state of New York, not just in the boroughs, in the whole fucking state. It's decriminalized. You get a citation, which means you get a fine. Now, if you want to be technical about it, on a federal level, it is still illegal. It has never been decriminalized federally, but there's no reason to arrest this young man for the cause of smoking pot. But then they say that the charge that they're giving him is resisting arrest. How is he resisting arrest? At what point did they tell arrest?
I disagree with the resisting arrest, and the only reason I say that is if I hit you in your pressure points, you're guaranteed a response. You're gonna move involuntarily, and if I hit you in the right spots, you're gonna continue moving. So regardless if you were trying not to resist, you will look like you're resisting. Your body is gonna react. It's normal. It's normal. He's in a situation where it's fight or flight, and yes, you are gonna get into that. I have to resist my body getting damaged. That hurts. Let me get away from that. I mean, the conversation that he was having with them, it was very straightforward. He wasn't too over the top with it. He wasn't belligerent as cursing the officer out. You don't fucking have nothing. Da, 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 da. It wasn't that type of situation. It was just more like, yo, what did I do wrong? Let me know where you holding me.
I'm in total agreement. Because he was very calm. He was scared, but at the same time calm because he didn't know what was going to happen to him. He probably thought that's probably would have been the last time he would have been able to walk the streets, alive. And I give that young man some credit. He handled it much better than I would have handled it because we would have been fighting.
Right. I mean, he had every opportunity to fight in that situation, just because.
And just for the sake of the argument, we didn't see what happened before the video started. We still don't know if the cop actually identified himself as a police officer.
No, I don't know who this guy is holding me against the fence.
With a fucking stun gun.
A stun gun.
You have a stun gun. I didn't see no badge in that video. I could be wrong.
Usually, the plainclothes usually have their shield outside on a chain.
Yeah, on a chain or on a clip, something like that. We didn't see none of that in the video. We didn't see none of that. Not to say that he didn't have it, but we just didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know. Was this like a officer of the park, and they're considering him an officer? That could be it too.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is when the rest of the guys got there, it was a wrap. They had set in motion what they wanted to do. From the moment they laid eyes on them, it was like a bull charging the red that red blanket. We hitting them with everything we got.
That's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm.
They charged them. They got them to the ground. They did everything they wanted to do to whoever they were trying to chase in the beginning.
In some ways, the way they bum rushed this guy, it made it worse than Eric Garner.
Yes. Now you take Eric Garner.
Yeah.
While the incident was just as tragic, was more tragic because he lost his life, but he was a bigger dude. So
Right.
in some level, you'd be like, okay, the guy was scared for his life, so you kind of got that. In
Right.
this situation, it was just more like, dude, there's 7-on-1. There's 7-on-1 guy.
8-on-1. That was seven additional officers in uniform that popped up.
Correct.
So it was
correct.
8-on-1.
8-on-1. 8-on-1.
And then while they got him on the ground, 3 more people run up.
And that's crazy. How many officers do you need? We had jokes back in the day.
It doesn't take 7 people to take someone down. It doesn't take 8.
Right. We don't need that many people to screw in the light bulb either. So all that extra force is unnecessary. I could see 2 officers, maybe 3. Anything other than that, it's excessive.
Absolutely. These guys came like straight up, came harder than freaking Bloods and Crips.
Mm-hmm.
On some like we got somebody to take down now. They were thirsty to beat somebody up. That's the way it looked like to me.
Right.
Instead of doing the proper procedure, again, we're not talking about every police officer that does the same shit. It's just a group of them, especially these new young guns who don't know restraint, don't know how to detain someone with restraint and detain someone with force. They don't know the difference. They just know one thing: is it, if this dude act up, I'm gonna slam him and fuck him up. That's the mentality.
But is it safe to say
It's a God complex.
Yeah,
it is that? And also as a fact of, let's go back to high school. It's a fact of trying to fit in with your fellow peers.
exactly.
You got people in rank that's been in the NYPD for years now, past our class.
All their life, some.
Yes, all their life, some of them. We have peers that were ahead of our classes, you know what I'm saying, and they've been in the game for a minute. Now, those officers, maybe they changed over time, but when they came in, it was probably the same thing. We understood what it was to have initiation as a freshman coming into high school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That waiting for that day, not anticipating what was going to go on and everything like that. In this situation, we have officers. Who's to say this officer right here, this young detective, wasn't trying to fall into the same suit?
You trying to be
Well, now, for me, that brings to mind.
Go ahead.
For me, that brings to mind that whole that question that I was saying. You know, I couldn't really hear what the officer himself was saying. The original plainclothes officer that was detaining the young man. Right. I couldn't hear what he was saying when he pulled out his radio. I want to know what he told his fellow officers that made them react like that.
Right.
Because they came over, they didn't ask any questions. They did not assess the situation. Their goal was to, in my humble opinion, the way it looked, their goal was to inflict pain.
Right. Yeah.
Not to detain, not to make an arrest. They ran up ready for action.
Right.
And the entire time
street fight.
and the entire time this young man was on his feet, his hands were up in the air. It wasn't until he got down on the ground that they grabbed his hands. And then, I mean, at that point, you really can't see what's going on because it's a dog pile of police officers on top of this young man.
Right.
As I said
and
before,
you could clearly see them. You could clearly see them kneeing him in the back. You can clearly see them, um, not just kneeing him in the back, but laying on him with their knees. One of the police stomped on his ankles.
right?
Full stomp. It wasn't no by accident. Actually, the knees and heel in the hair and stomped them on purpose.
Right.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And this is the same thing you would see in a street fight. Like, I don't care what's going on, my boy's involved, so I'm about to hit somebody. I don't care who it is.
right.
You know
You
what
know-
I'm saying?
you
And
know-
then you swarm the situation, and then everybody gets a piece.
Right.
That's exactly what it looked like. Now, to me, as as somebody who's hoping that the police officers are there for my best interest and trying to keep the peace and trying to help me in the situation, I don't want to see that.
No.
You're supposed to be professional. I'm supposed to trust you with your judgment on how you treat me, how you treat a family member, how you treat anybody else that you see out there.
Supposed to be professional.
Right.
If I can't get that off of this video and off the, I don't know how many countless. This is the first one of this year, right?
Yeah.
This is
Well,
the
first one.
No, the first. This is
This
the
is
first.
the first viral one of this year.
The first
Yeah.
viral one of this year.
Yes, I mean, God knows how many incidents happen every day without even getting recorded.
Right.
Right.
It just, I'm actually tired of seeing this. Like, there's no situation where I can actually go look at and see that an officer from beginning to end, the officer was like, no, I got this. It's fine.
Right. But
Beginning to end, like, had total control of the situation, de-escalated the situation, went through the proper protocols, everything like that. Everybody walked away unblemished. Ego maybe like dropped, or maybe you like wish you weren't there, the situation with cuffs on, but other than that, you still going home later.
Right. And I believe that's what's been lost. I mean, what is it going to take for this to stop? I mean,
Right.
what is it? I mean, honestly, what is it going to take for it to stop? Is it going to be a situation where, God forbid, it did not go right for any of those officers?
Right.
Yeah, and that brings me back to the question of what did this dude say over the radio? Because right now, I mean, think about what Joe said. You got some of these officers that have been on the force, their entire adult lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because you radioed in X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Now you could be potentially costing your fellow officers their pension.
Right.
Right.
If it was a case that he just gave misinformation over the radio.
Right.
Yeah, I got a young nigger here acting belligerent and resisting arrest.
But just let me interject. Let me just interrupt you for a second, Ricky. The thing, this is because what he said on the radio doesn't mean the officers doesn't absolve the officers from making an assessment of the situation before they act.
No.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
No.
Not at all. What I'm saying is what is the trigger?
Right.
The same way they say it takes one bad apple to spoil the entire bunch.
Right.
I'll give you an example. As working corrections, as a corrections officer, if you get a call over radio, it's like a code you would get in the emergency room. You rushing in.
Right.
You have a protocol in your head. What's going on? What I'm expected to do when I walk through that door. My first reaction is to protect that person that I see that has the same uniform as me.
Right.
Regardless of what's going on, the question is not what's going on. I'm supposed to react in this situation because a code was sent. The code was there. Now it's a part of it's act and react.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. It's like in the military, I believe they call it a preparatory command, and then there was a command.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. So when you hear 1, 2, 3, you know the
Right.
situation is this, and when you hear 4, 5, 6, you know the situation is that.
Right. So in this situation, like you said, he doesn't understand what the guy said over the radio. To me, it looked like he said something that triggered them to go into that mode.
I agree, and I also agree with Dom. It does not absolve them of what they did.
No, it doesn't. But
There was a young man held against the wall with his hands in the air, defenseless, with no weapons. There was no reason to attack him in that manner.
No, not at all.
Not with as many officers as there were.
No, not at all. But like I said, I'm trying to get that point across too, so we could see the other side, even though the circumstances are not what we would like them to be.
Right.
This should have been a situation where it was handled totally different. But I still want you to see the other side, because a lot of officers will back their fellow officers without even thinking about that. Like they'll run in. Like I'm going to rush in because you told me to rush in. I'm rushing in. That's my boy.
Right. I heard 1, 2, 3 over the radio.
Right.
I'm prepared for this.
Right. I don't understand what's going on. We could figure out all else that's going on afterwards. That's one side of it. But now we're in the cell phone age where everybody got a smartphone and we could pull out a phone and record what's going on. So what you were thinking in your mind was totally different than what we saw on camera.
Exactly. But the thing is, though, once that kid had his hands up, he was not in a non-threatening position. Plain as day. There's no excuse for that. You're talking about looking out for your boy. How about you call him out on his mistake to keep the situation from going viral? Their actions is the reason why this shit went viral, not because of the situation. Their actions during that situation is the reason why this video is going viral.
Right. I also have to ask this question because this is one of those situations where I feel like the person with the camera kind of antagonized the officer to make that call.
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with either. Go ahead.
I don't think the officer was quote unquote performing for the camera. In fact, again, we don't know exactly what transpired before that camera went on. All we can go on is hearsay. But there was cause for that young lady to actually pull out her phone and start recording. To me, it's just disturbing to see a young man of color being treated like this.
No, I get that, and I agree wholeheartedly. What I'm trying to say is that there are certain situations, this may not be one of them, but that a camera in the situation antagonizes, kind of like you have a passenger in your seat that's talking shit to the cops when we could have resolved this on a one-on-one situation.
Right.
I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that perspective to be lost in any of this, because that's another part of their assessment on the situation also. When we're rushing into situations like, oh, here we go with some bullshit, it's just more fuel to the fire.
It is more fuel to the fire, but this is what I want to say about the female who was recording the whole incident, and what a lot of people should be doing when an innocent civilian is being attacked by the law enforcement is, while you're recording, also call 911 and have a request supervisor on the line, because those 911 calls are recorded.
Right.
You can video and be on a phone call with 911 requesting a supervisor while you're recording also.
Right.
Can you? Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
See,
You
there's
can make a phone call
I
and
honestly wasn't aware of that.
see
Yeah.
that's a resolution right there.
Yeah,
That's
you can
something that somebody that's something anybody could do, but we didn't know about. We didn't think to do that.
we too into the problem with our society. We too into trying to be world star and trying to be video, video shit. That
Right. We want a trend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is a lot of situations where the civilians don't think about is we all try to get something on camera, but also not just camera, get that shit on their lines recorded also. So now if they were to erase that situation, it looks like a true in essence cover up.
Right.
Whereas they could probably take your phone, probably smash your phone to eliminate the evidence, and then and you got to understand all it.
Right.
Call 911 and request a supervisor. Explain the situation as calmly as possible while you're recording. Hell, people ask me, I got two cell phones. People ask me why I got two cell phones. I say it's none of your business. But then again, situations like this, two cell phones would have helped.
Right.
The first thing we're doing, yo, listen, I need to speak to a supervisor.
You know, there was.
Go ahead. What'd you say, Ricky? Did we lose Ricky?
That kind of speaks to that kind of speaks to this culture in right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can
we
you
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yeah.
You hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that kind of speaks to the culture that we're in. I can recall there was an incident at the Windsor Inn a couple years back from me, and this dude got jumped, and at the end of the onslaught, a woman pulled out a hammer and hit the dude in the head. Now, the particular video, a hammer, hit the dude in the head while he was on the ground. Now, the particular incident or the particular video that was all the rage at that point, you can clearly see, like, literally every bystander that was not involved in this onslaught with their phone out recording the incident.
Right.
I don't know if their videos weren't uploaded, but the one that went viral was definitely uploaded. It was uploaded to Facebook, and because it was uploaded to Facebook, it ended up on the news.
Right.
How do you like? I get it. We got this it's still a culture here in Baltimore about no snitching, but how do you watch somebody that's hurt and unable to request any assistance for themselves? How do you sit there and watch them and not call 911 to say, hey, we need an ambulance?
Right.
You don't have to give your name when you call 911. You can remain anonymous.
Exactly. Like I said, it goes back to, you got all those people recording, but not one person calling 911.
Correct.
Not one of them.
You got to see. I'm in the medical field.
The bar that called 911.
Exactly. See, I'm in the medical field, so if someone has cardiac arrest and you need help you need help with CPR and all that stuff. You got two people there. You got one person doing compressions, another person has to run and get help ASAP or get the AED.
Right.
That's the way it should be on the streets as well in any situation, whether it's someone getting jumped in the street. Have someone recording, have someone call 911. The same thing with the situation with this individual right here with the innocent kid getting hemmed up and stomped on like that. Same rules apply. Doesn't matter if they're police officers or not. Same rules apply. The person, figuratively speaking, that kid was in distress.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
By the screams, and the pain that he was in. Yes.
He was in distress. So you as a person who's there as a bystander, as a witness, it is your responsibility. Yes, she recorded. Yes, she recorded that shit. But it's also her responsibility to call 911, and request a supervisor. And get a whole different squad of police officers there to now become I would say mediators, but like someone like the middleman, the one that the team that's gonna bring the calm to already hostile and distressing situation.
True.
That's what should have been done. Because clearly, though, the way those guys rushed the situation, they weren't not the calming influences. They would add gasoline to a raging inferno.
Right. They came with the gasoline.
Exactly. They came with.
Let's get them.
Let's get them. Like straight gangsters. You know what I'm saying?
Because that's my man's in there. Because what I'm doing, my man's in them is doing.
But figuratively speaking, I can't even pronounce it right at 1:00 in the morning.
That's okay. 1:30, well, we're good.
1:30, yeah, there you go. If that was me with my skills in CQC, close quarter combat, that officer would have been tasting the cement.
I mean,
he would have tasted cement. I'm sorry. I'm not advocating. I'm not advocating violence against the police, but truth be told, in that situation,
there was a lot of instances where I saw that should have been deemed. I mean, he reached for the taser when he's just asking a question. There was a lot of sketchy things that happened, and I don't know if I could have restrained myself to the utmost that he did without trying to get away.
Personally, I took Krav Maga, and I can tell you, I've been involved in an attempted robbery situation prior to and after being trained in Krav Maga, and I don't consider myself a badass. I don't go out here and I don't pick fights. I'm no bully or anything like that.
Right.
But I am trained to disarm an individual. And if you don't identify yourself as a police officer, you're about to get disarmed and you're about to get hurt, because at the end of the day, this is what you learn in every Krav Maga class. It's not about belts. It's not about points. It's about getting home safe at the end of the night.
Right.
And I want to get home safe at the end of the night. And I don't know you're a police officer. I don't know that this is official business.
Right.
Fam.
Yeah, even if I'm not successful, you are going to be hurt.
Right.
This is the stage one of a threatening situation. Someone who you don't know, a strange person is running at you, jogging or running at you.
Right.
You're in fight mode.
And he didn't identify himself. Supposedly he didn't identify himself. So that would lead to that.
And all that officer could have done is said, "Stop, NYPD." That's all he had to say. But apparently, I don't think that ever was even said.
Right.
Now we're talking about, we're speculating on what we would do in that situation. This young man did none of that in this situation. This shit was completely unwarranted.
No.
And something has to be done. Something has to be done, because it's clearly, I mean, from the reaction of the other officers showing up on the scene, there's clearly some type of issue with their rules of engagement, with their protocol, with their standard operating practices.
Right.
Or it's an old system that hasn't changed. Everybody's on that old cowboy shit.
Right. And in this situation, wasn't even necessary. He was the poor kid was complying.
Right. But let's not forget, media stirs up a lot of shit. We hear a lot of shit on all the negatives.
They do. That's why I mentioned that spin that they put on the whole story.
Right.
So he ran. He said he ran.
They were smoking marijuana on the playground, and they ran from police officers.
And they ran when they saw the police.
Come on. Wouldn't you run?
The young man said in the interview with BuzzFeed, "I know not to run from the police. That gives them a license to kill you."
You got to commend his parents for providing him with proper training.
Listen,
in rules of engagement with law enforcement.
From what I understand about the video, I think his parents were Islanders.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make the situation better because Islanders just react differently.
Right. But he had those parents to ask questions.
Right.
He had the parents that told him at least that you could do this, ask questions.
Exactly. We kind of lost Ricky for a second there. Ricky, you back with us?
Yeah. My bad. I plugged in the phone.
Well, what Joey G was mentioning that he most likely came from a Caribbean background, which taught him, a certain levels of respect and rules of engagement with police officers.
Right.
And like I said, this situation did not have to go viral.
No, it didn't. But based on how mistreated the person was, I can see why it went viral.
Right.
I can see why it went viral. These should be case studies to figure out what we can do better in that situation. How do we assess that situation? How do we stop this from from happening in the future?
Absolutely. But this is a situation. No matter how much we speak about it, if the powers that be are not willing to make a change, we're still gonna keep doing this. Still gonna go through the same bullshit.
And nobody's written a policy to change that. Nobody's written that. Nobody has challenged the way the structure was built from the ground up. Like, you need a tactician to come in there and be like, well, we could try this and implement these things, these guidelines and everything like that. Now, we could have sensitivity training and all these extra things, but are they really going to be taken seriously if they're not put in the curriculum before they got into their patrols or in circulation as an officer?
You guys already know how I feel about sensitivity training. It's bullshit because it's only according to certain. It goes to according to certain people. The privileged race will continue to do what the fuck they want, no matter how many sensitivity training that they get. Plain and simple.
That's true also.
True indeed, and everything is put into perspective and context by the individual involved in the situation.
Now, I'm going to say this. Let's not put it past an officer to look at it as a socialistic point of view also.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had a trailer park white person that known to be on drugs and things of that nature, they would have treated him pretty much the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that also. I know you've seen it on Cops.
Right.
I've seen it here in Maryland. Shit.
Right. So if they know the situation as far as that, they're treated accordingly across the board as far as that. You're no different from that person. We may give you an extra courtesy here and there. You're not. You're actually being detained, and then we're taking you to jail.
Mm-hmm.
You get that extra ride.
Mm-hmm.
We're not afforded that extra ride.
Right. Let me tell you something. Do you guys remember the bombing that happened in Manhattan, in which the terrorists actually bombed a place in Jersey and also came and bombed the lower west side of Manhattan over by Trump Plaza, and now he was shooting at cops. He was able to remain alive and get put in handcuffs.
Right.
Whereas Eric Garner was just selling a Lucy and gets choked out
without resisting.
without resisting. This guy that did the bombs was shooting at police.
Not only that, a white guy walks into a black church, shoots up the congregation, walks out, gets arrested, gets taken to Burger King?
Burger King. He got supersized. He got a supersized meal.
He got a supersized meal.
He had it his way.
Yeah, right?
I'm sorry to say, it's fucking pathetic. And I wanted to say something before we speak out how the media put spins on this and stuff like that. This is the reason why. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast.
You know, not for nothing, Dom and D. Back in high school, my whole thing that I wanted to do when I got into the world was broadcast journalism. To tell the facts and understand both sides before I told those facts.
Right.
Like I was seriously into journalism. Like you can talk to some people behind the scenes and they know I was talking about getting on a radio station back then.
Right.
My whole thing was when I looked at broadcasting, I was like, they're facts. We have to find them out. And then you tell your story. But me, as the journalist, I'm not supposed to tell you my opinion on the situation. I'm supposed to let you know both ends and let you figure that out for yourself.
Exactly.
You're supposed to remain objective.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be objective in the way I come across and I talk to you about the situation. But
when you throw your opinion in, that's called an editorial.
Right.
Yes.
Now, nowadays, it seems like you have one-sided or another-sided conversations, or we have baits. We have conversations that are baiting you towards looking at it a certain way or looking at it the other way, or then we have politics and all these other things that we throw in there, and then race, and then we have sex, whatever you identify yourself with.
Right.
It gets in a whole tangent.
It's always a tangent, and like I said, that's the reason why I do this podcast. We're not here to put any spin on anything. We call it the way we see it.
I like having fun.
And I see some bullshit.
We see some bullshit. Definitely. I like calling it how I see it. I like to be a straight shooter when it comes down to stuff like this. Bottom line is, guy was mistreated. He deserves some type of justice in that situation. I hope that we can move forward and learn from this situation and not have the same incident happen again. But 9 times out of 10, we're going to see this again. It's just a different person, different day.
I want to know what this guy, the PBA president, has got to say about this, because when the situation with Pantaleo came out, he was staunchly defending Pantaleo and attacking the mayor of New York. The mayor of New York saw this video, and I'm not going to say I don't remember the exact words he said, but it seemed like he was pretty much disturbed by what he saw on the video.
Any humanitarian would be.
And you're supposed to be was it with the PBA, Police Benevolent Association?
Right.
Supposed to be benevolent, not belligerent. And he's going to be belligerently protect his officers, as you see in the video. Clearly did something 1,000% wrong. Every last one of them. But where is he to reprimand them? Oh, I forgot. That's not his job. What he's going to tell you.
It's a very fine line. Being in those type of positions. I don't know how many years this guy has him, but I know he's wore the blue for a number of years to get into that position.
Right.
So before he leaves, this ensures that his family is protected and those that are serving under him are protected and things of that nature. You don't want to ruin that legacy before you leave. So I
Right.
can't go against my fellow officers before I get my pension and I'm in retirement.
It's not about going against your officers. That's the mentality that you need to change. Because if you police your own, it'll be less crime in the streets. Your officers, the good officers who seem to catch the end of a retaliation, won't end up dead or hurt, or because of what two bad apples did. It's always the good apples that end up getting hurt, not the bad apples.
That
Right.
what you said in the beginning, right there, the first phrase, police your own. That's it right there. Police your own. We
That
need an
doesn't mean-
officer on scene that's able to put you in your place. Still have control of the situation, but put you in your place. Like, that's wrong. I got it from here. You're
Mhm.
done.
Cooler heads prevail.
If me, you, and D get into an altercation, let's say I'm the hothead. I get into an altercation. You
Mhm.
see that I was wrong in the situation. You push me to the side, like, yo, what are you doing right now?
Right.
Sit your ass down.
Sit your ass
Right.
down someplace.
Exactly.
Then D could go into the situation and try to resolve it as far as, yo, my man had a little bit too much to drink right now. Can we resolve it a different way?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? In those situations, you have to engage this situation in some form of fashion like that. But the way it's been done, it's more like a mob mentality.
Gangsters are gangsters. It's all gangsters, man. There's no policing. There's no criminals. We all gangsters. That's the way it is right now.
I had a flashback of being in the Catholic Church. Crucify him, crucify him.
You know what I'm saying? we all gangsters, and there's no such thing as police. There's no such thing as civilians. We all gangsters.
You know, there was an interesting perspective shared by one of the creators of the Wire,
Mm-hmm.
where he talked, where he was giving his commentary about a particular episode, and he was stating that when the whole war on drugs occurred in the 80s, that the perspective and the mindset of police officers was definitely influenced and completely changed, because the community that you were supposed to be protecting and serving is now a war zone, and the people that you're supposed to be protecting and serving are now your enemy,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know who's who.
Right.
So you're treating all of them like an enemy.
Combatant.
Unfortunately, that mentality is still lingering with a lot of officers,
Mm-hmm.
and not just lingering, but being passed down to the generations of officers that are coming up.
Right.
The people you protect and serve are not supposed to be your enemy.
No.
In fact, even it sounds almost oxymoronic, but even the criminals themselves have rights. That's why you're supposed to get Mirandized when you get arrested.
Right.
I've never actually seen it in real life. I've never actually seen it done on the spot. You know, like they do it in the TV shows and in the movies. Well, you have the right to remain silent. Anything? No, they don't do that shit. They take you to the interrogation room and give you a piece of paper and say, "These are your rights. Sign this."
No, I hate. I'm laughing because I've seen that piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
So have I.
I've seen that piece of paper.
I never want to see that shit again.
Me neither. It looked like one of those cards you get from a deaf person. With signs.
Mine looked like a bad photocopy.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Pretty much. The
Actually,
same thing.
at least you guys got Miranda. Miranda, I didn't get that. She told me go in the wagon.
Oh no, I'm talking about when it happened officially. I think I told you about my whole situation with when I was living down in Innocent Village, and Like it was a daily occurrence, and by the time they had started talking about stop and frisk, I'm like, there's a name for that shit because it happens every day here in Baltimore. I don't know if it's still happening because I'm not in that environment anymore. I'm quite sure it is. Walking down the street, two people in plain clothes pull out guns, put you in cuffs, sit you down on the curb, pull your shirt up over your head, reach all down in your nuts and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's humiliating. It's embarrassing, and it's infuriating because it wastes your time.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, we're spending time talking about it right now.
I mean,
As much as something for us to talk about on a podcast, do we really want to talk about this? No, not
Well,
really. Because
what I'd like to know, and this is a serious question because I don't have the answers to this question.
mhm.
You know, I'm gonna do this like I do when I go into the church or the mosque. You know, if I'm gonna ask a question because I don't have the answer to it. What do we do from here?
Right. That's
What can we do from here going forward?
right. That's a valid question.
I know what we should do, but I don't want the big brother to knock on my door and say I'm
Inciting shit.
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'll give
But
you.
in essence, what I'm saying is that as a democratic country, I will be exercising my democratic right to do something about it in a democratic way, without violence, but in a democratic way, enforce my ability as that the country is run for me and run by me at the same time.
I can understand that.
Because everybody else in position of power could do whatever the fuck they want, say what the fuck they want, grab the pussy if they want.
Still no jail time.
Martha.
Get head in the Oval Office when they want to.
Right. No jail time.
Deny the fact that they have a black son.
Who's that?
Woo!
Who that?
Who that?
Who that? Who there?
That's why I didn't have no relationships with anybody in the Oval Office. We got you. We got you, bro. I can't hate on you, bro, because you made me some money when you were president. I actually got a decent tax return when you were president. I can't knock you for that, though. Really can't.
You know what? Now that I think about it, that was probably my best tax rates. Jesus, I was young.
Good old Bill. No lie.
I got you guys.
No lie. No lie. No. Seriously. Some of his how could I'm losing train of thought. It's early 2:00 in the morning. God damn it. Some of his policies, we didn't like some of his policies that he put forth as far as the incarceration, all that stuff. But as far as putting money, as far as putting minorities first, as far as being able to sustain income and raise our levels up into a higher class of people, I think we benefited more when he was president than any other president that I've seen in my lifetime. And I know that includes Obama.
It was a different change because it was a different point of view, and I guess from his standpoint, it was trying to help the situation.
He thought he was trying to help. I mean,
the policies and stuff like that, as far as they were still in play. I mean, it was just not in the mainstream media per se, but behind the scenes, everything was working pretty much the same way. The same conversations were being had, if not by him, by his wife, by his elected officials and things of that nature. So it was no big change as far as when we're talking about stop and frisk and how they handled drug interactions and things of that nature.
Right.
I mean, it's years of the same rhetoric, we're going. I'll go back to Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Reagan on that. I mean, Carter probably had it too.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, man. I'm just
As we segue, I got you.
Try to get to a point where we find a solution rather than sit there and be like, "Yo, I hated that." Let's get to a solution. Let's progression.
Well then, let's declare today that we're going to make that a goal. Let's start brainstorming about solutions that we can. I mean, this goes back to the whole rules of engagement discussion that we were having. We need to be having these discussions. We need to be talking about this because no one person is really going to come up with literally all the answers. Yeah, I'm gonna go talk to my people. Dom gonna talk to his people. Joey, he gonna talk to his people, and then we come back and throw some ideas at each other. At some point, a light bulb's gonna go off.
Right. Like we had Hanif on the show, not too long ago, and he made a valid point when we were on the show. When it comes to talking about heated discussions and everything like that, bottom line is, who do we talk to about these situations, and where do we go to make these things happen? So there's some type of some type of change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody right now we're living in an age with social media, with Twitter, and all of that, and everybody's just like this. Oh, I seen it. That's so wrong. World star.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not changing nothing. You're giving light on a subject, but it's not changing the situation.
Can I say something? Guys? I just want to say something. It all boils down to communication. What people don't realize is that when two people argue, we get lost. People argue because they disagree on something. But what we seem to fail to realize is the argument is not about who is right and who is wrong. It's about coming up with a compromise of a solution to solve the issue that makes us argue.
Gotcha.
But we live in an age that people argue to see who's right and who's wrong, and that's not the way it should be done.
True.
We are all human beings of different personalities and different thought processes. We are going to disagree. Let's come up with a solution that makes us come together as one and move on in a positive direction. That's all I'm asking. And I'm saying this because we have a situation here. I mean, we're going to segue off the police department, for a little bit, give them a break. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go say one thing. Not all police officers are bad people. There's some great police officers. Yeah. The fact of the matter is, they have to be trained better, in social aspects of not social aspects of their job, but social interaction. Period.
Right. After dealing with whatever situation that puts you into that mode, because you haven't got out of that.
I got you.
You know
so yeah,
people get
as I said, as a segue, we from the real world of basketball. I did a podcast which I posted up about 2 hours ago in regards to the Spike Lee situation with the New York Knicks. I'm gonna say some more stuff about it because
love you, Spike.
Mr. Do the Right Thing and all that stuff. I mean, the whole situation. Like I said, communication. He walked into the arena the way he's been doing it for the past 30 years through the employee entrance to get to his seat. As he was going to the elevator, they had already scanned his ticket. He scanned his ticket, goes into the elevator. He's held up at the elevator saying that, you can't use this elevator to get to your seats. Spike was like, I've been using this for the past 30 years. No one told me that. So they insisted on him leaving the arena to go into another entrance on the 34th Street side, which is for VIP and celebrity guests only. Now, we all know that once they scan your ticket, there's no re-entry.
This is not a club.
No. They're not going to give you a little wristband said you already been scanned already.
Right.
This is a guy who spends on average of almost 300 grand a year. He's a season ticket holder.
Now that's die hard.
Right.
Yes. No matter how bad, no matter if they won 17 games one season or even 12 games a season or winning 54 games a season, he is there every home game. And there's times he even travels on the road with the team.
Talking shit to Jack Nicholson.
Exactly. The point is
talking shit to Reggie Miller.
Exactly. But the thing is that I don't think it's a security guard's fault that happened. It had to come, like he said, it had to come from the ownership that did that.
Right.
This is a day when you introduced a new president of basketball operations, Leon Rose, to the team. The team had a big win against Houston on Monday, and this situation happened. And then the spin they put on from the press release after the incident, saying that him and Nolan was shaking hands at halftime. I did see a picture with them talking. I did see a picture of them shaking hands. But what does that mean? Were you there? Were you right in the middle of the conversation? What the conversation they were having? The fact of the matter is wrong. The way you should have handled the situation is boom. All right, Spike, we got you, but you can't come in this entrance anymore. New rules, but we're going to let you still get to your seat through this entrance for today only.
Right.
As always, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Exactly. Right. So that's my opinion about the situation. I mean, Spike Lee went on first. He gave his side of the story. You know, I mean, we all roll with Spike, but of course, there's some people thinking that Spike Lee was trying to stir up drama. No, man. How is someone stirring up drama?
You doing the same thing?
If I'm spending $300,000 a year, I'm gonna stir up all the goddamn drama I want. Especially when y'all haven't won a championship since 1912.
Call TMZ, I ain't leaving.
You guys got to lighten up the mood up in this place, man. I mean,
call TMZ, I ain't leaving.
The fact of the matter is, the team is bad. How do you expect to get free agents to come to your team if you're treating your best fan like that?
Best fan and ex-players.
Yes, we forgot about Charles Oakley.
Yep, Charles Oakley.
What?
Yeah.
Shit, man. 2017, they had that man arrested. They had dragged that dude to the ground and arrested him.
When was this?
In 2017.
Wow.
He wasn't the first though. Who else? There was a couple other people.
No. He was really the main one. Really the main one that got dragged out. He got dragged out that arena. He dragged out the arena, and it has been stories that even the security guards can barely talk. Like mum's the word. Dudes is afraid. Dudes are afraid to think their phones are being tapped. Type shit.
You're fired.
Welcome to the God.
Talk about 19. You remember we read the book of 1984 or some shit like that.
Wow.
You're fired.
I mean, dudes got families to take care of. I guess they got to protect themselves.
I get it. I like the Garden gig. I'm gonna. Okay. Don't say that.
But definitely, guys, we're gonna wrap up this podcast. It's definitely a pleasure having you guys with me on the podcast, True Players Podcast. But next time,
always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Next time we'll do it much more earlier, like around 8 p.m. We have to do an 8 p.m. podcast so everybody is involved, can see the podcast and comment. We do it in the butt hours of the morning. It's not cool.
We're starting out
That vamp life.
They're doing that vamp life. I know. I got to be up in the next 4 hours anyway. But anyway,
that's all.
but definitely, you can definitely listen to the pod. But definitely, you can definitely listen to this podcast on Joey G Radio, Spotify, Anchor, Spreaker, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and all other platforms that provide the podcast. And definitely subscribe to the podcast on one of those platforms for your viewing pleasure. Stay tuned for my brother Joey G, his podcast, Venting with Joey G. It's coming soon, and I'm going to be a guest on that. I'm going to be venting a whole lot of shit. It'll be a whole lot more cursing than what I'm giving right now.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm mad.
I'm gonna tell you what I'm fucking mad. And best believe I'm gonna tell you what I'm fucking mad. On that podcast.
You know what it is. It's just gonna be straight talking about what you're mad about, and we're gonna hit the topics same as we're doing on this show, but we're gonna hit it with a little bit of different angle. We're not gonna hit you with the politically correct stuff. We're gonna hit you with the regular. This is what I'm feeling. I need to get this off my chest.
Well, actually, I wasn't trying to be politically correct, but I got people who I work with, and I have to, change.
You don't have to do that on my show.
No, that is true. It's true. That's very true. But on my True Players podcast, I have a lot of employees, a lot of fellow coworkers and employees and business partners who will not want me to be my true Jack the Ripper self on my podcast.
Listen, I know people.
King Hercules.
I know people at the IRS right now like, fuck them kids.
I really want to do one. I really want to tell people to go suck on a monkey's nipple, but I really can't say that.
I mean, you could. It's just not politically correct.
I'm also a businessman. I'm a business, not a businessman.
Right.
So I got to be politically correct.
Listen,
much to my chagrin.
When I'm making money in my sleep, I don't care what you think.
That's the ultimate goal. When you close your eyes, you're still making money.
When I close my eyes and I'm making money in my sleep, I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't care how it comes out my mouth.
Mm-hmm. Then again, that's the ultimate goal is to be able to sleep, close your eyes, go to sleep, and still make money, and also have the ability to educate people on how to do the same thing. Also,
right.
So let's do it. Let's get it. That's what I'm saying. So, any final words, Ricky, on your end?
Once again, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
That's right. That's right. You heard it from the best. Let's get it. Hopefully, next few episodes we'll talk about. We gotta get this child support part 2 up and going, guys. Let's get some females on this podcast too. That's the only reason why I haven't done the podcast on child support yet. The part 2
Tell them how they can get in touch with you.
That you can definitely hit me up on trueplayerspodcast@gmail.com. Let me spell it for you. TRUPLAYAZ podcast@gmail.com. I need 2 females to come join this podcast about child support. One with kids, one without kids. Preferably. Mm-hmm. We're talking about real subjects here, not no fake subject. This is a real subject that's crippling our community.
True.
And we got to have an open dialogue about that stuff. So anytime, once I get those 2 females, I may not wait for that, but part 2 has to come. So on that note, once again, I want to thank you guys for listening to the podcast. I think once again, Ricky Brown, Joey G, guest hosts. It's been fun. We're going to do it again.
Definitely. Look forward to it.
Subscribe to the goddamn podcast, people.
Subscribe.
It's real easy. Just search on Spotify. True Players Podcast. Just hit subscribe.
Subscribe.
That's it.
That's all you have to do.
MP, that's it.
That's it.
Good night, people. Peace.
Yeah. It's your boy Prime. Gridlock. Come on. Shout out to my nigga Dom. True Players. Let's go. This that true player shit. We gon' make it live with Big Dom. How gon' knock true player shit? We gon' take it farther than beyond. This that true player shit. We gon' make it live with Big Dom. How they gon' knock true player shit? We gon' take it farther than beyond.